Okay, so today is Friday, July 28th, 2023. The time is 1:34 p.m. We are in the Selectmen's Conference Room, the second floor of Town Hall, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Massachusetts, for a dog hearing. My name is Amy Croto. I am a Senior Natural Resource Officer, Shellfish Constable, and the hearing officer assigned to this dog hearing today. I'll read into the record the notice. July 14, 2023, to a Tyler Burbig and Corey Signorello, 103 Baxter Road, Hyannis, Mass. 02601. Dear Ms. Burbig and Mr. Signorella, I have scheduled a hearing under the provisions of Chapter 140, Section 157 of Massachusetts General Law on Friday, July 28, 2023 at 1 p.m. based on a complaint received regarding dogs harbored by you. The complaint states that dogs are vicious and there is excessive barking, which is in violation of the Town of Barnstable regulations, specifically Chapter 403-15. The hearing will take place at Town Hall, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass. In the Selectmen's Conference Room on the second floor. You will be given every opportunity to be heard at this time. I request that you make every effort to attend this hearing. Sincerely, Mark S. Ells. This was delivered in hand to Tyler Burbig by ACO Caitlin Carpenter on the 18th of July at 10:40 a.m. So if you're planning on providing testimony today, please raise your right hand. Any individual who would be providing testimony at this time, would you solemnly swear that the evidence you're about to give in this matter is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes.
Excellent. So at this time, we will take testimony from the ones bringing forth the complaints, Tatiana Mendez, is it?
Yes.
And Matthew Goodless?
Yes.
All right. So just make sure you speak into the microphone as it is recorded.
You can move them.
So let me see how I'm gonna begin. So before we had a problem with the dogs, there were some other dogs there. They were jumping, and there was a small black dog that came to our house multiple times. We watched that dog. He slept at our house. We love dogs. We had no problem with that one. But there were some dogs that were there before, and this one that is on the backyard right now, he jumps and he growls at us, and he's breaking the fence. The way that if you go there, you can see the fence is about to fall. The dog nipped at my daughter before. He beat my son. And every time I walk towards the fence, the dog follows me through the fence. So it's not just dog barking at dog. Every time our dogs go to the backyard, we go with them. Right now I have a playpen blocking the fence so my dogs don't get close because I'm worried they will get hurt. And I stopped fixing the fence because there are holes under it. The dog doesn't try to go in. It was another one that tried, but that one tried to bite us, which it did before. And my concern is if the fence does fall, this dog does not want to play with us. And, I have migraine, and the dog barks, and all of the panic of going through the backyard. We are not using the backyard anymore. We are avoiding going to the backyard so we don't have to deal with it. There are times that we are taking our dogs on walks because I don't want to go on my backyard anymore.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, Matt?
Yes. Okay. So, as she said, we have a repeated history of dogs getting into our backyard. We, at one point, her daughter looked outside, and there were the pit bull puppies out in the middle of the street in front of the yard, or house, because they escaped from the backyard. Somebody had to go and get them. So you have a repeated history of dogs breaking out of the backyard. You have a vicious dog that we were told that it used to be a guard dog. So it was trained to be aggressive and violent, and a repeated history of dogs escaping out of the backyard. And it's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, it's only a matter of time before all it takes is for 2 planks of the fence to get broken down and this dog to come in and maul somebody, okay? Because like she said, this dog is not friendly. It does not want to play with us. I have a video. Can I play it real quick?
So you can play the video. I'm not sure how we
I just
get
want to
it.
show you the audio
Okay.
of this dog barking because it is not friendly. 1 second. And this is constant for hours. Like I try to go, I'm 6'4", 200 pounds, and I'm scared of this dog. I mean, you can imagine what her 13-year-old daughter wants to go outside. I mean, like she said, where we feel like we're prisoners. Yeah, you hear this? Constant for hours.
And he does it jumping on the fence?
And then you can hear it jumping on the fence.
Yeah.
You know, all it takes is for 2 planks. And I've seen some of the planks get shaky while it's doing it. And, you know, we've worked hard on our backyard. We want to be able to go back out there and relax, but we're getting harassed and stalked by a dangerous animal. And, you know, it's not okay. You know? I mean, we've made multiple complaints, and nothing seems to get done about it. And like we said, there was another 2 pit bulls that were also in the back there that were doing the same thing, you know, and we're frustrated. We're at the end of our limit, you know. We've been more than accommodating with helping her dogs and everything, and it's just, you know, we want to be able to enjoy our backyard and not worry about getting mauled by a guard dog that thinks we're trespassing. I mean, there's points where I've been in the living room and this thing is barking at me from her backyard through the windows. So we're not even safer in our own house, you know? So, like, yeah. So that's all I wanted to add.
Okay. Thank you. Tyler?
I have a few. Should I just go down everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that something that you'd like to have added into the record? Because I
You
don't
can
have
take
any.
it if you want to. It's
Okay.
just my notes that I knew what to say.
Okay.
So I'm sure, as you guys know, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 140. Oh, so sorry. Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 140 states that a dog cannot be deemed dangerous solely on barking or growling, the breed of dog, which I will note that he specified pit bull multiple times, and if the dog was reacting to another animal and or person and protecting itself or its offspring, and the person who was quote-unquote attacked breached an enclosure not limited to a gated or fenced-in area without the owner's permission. Furthermore, the Town of Barnstable Regulations, Section 403-9 regarding barking dogs, states that the noise must be plainly audible 150 feet from the premises and that the dog continuously barks for an excess of 10 or more minutes. So based on that, obviously being neighbors, our houses are basically on top of each other, so that's gonna do the 150 feet. Felony only barks when their dogs are outside and run along the fence, and or when their children are outside yelling and screaming on their trampoline, playing with their balls that come into my yard multiple times. Tatiana stated that they don't go into their backyard anymore. I have cameras up in my backyard that prove otherwise. Their children and their multiple friends are outside on the trampoline constantly, yelling, laughing, doing things that kids do, which I expect. But when their playing balls are coming into my yard while my dogs are outside and their children are barking outside, the dogs are gonna think either that they wanna play or that it's a threat when something's coming in. So furthermore, Melanie from MSPCA Law has come out to my property not once but twice based on complaints. I can't make assumptions, but since we're here with these neighbors, assumed called in by them, that my dogs are improperly cared for, not being fed enough, left outside all day with inadequate shelter. And both times she has come out, she stated that not only are the dogs properly cared for, in excellent condition, but they do have adequate shelter both indoors and outdoors. She's also met the dog in question twice, which is a female, by the way, not a male, and both times has stated that she's a sweet girl and a good mama. Furthermore, off of that, Animal Control, with Cindy here, has been to my property multiple times or left notifications on my door or voicemails for phone calls and complaints, and a majority of them have been closed as unfounded. Most recently, Cindy and I actually touched base on this when you were out of the room. She left a notification on my door regarding barking and unleashed violations. When I asked her about the unleashed violation, she stated that she had not seen it herself. And prior to today's meeting, she stated that they did find the other dog. It was not, in fact, my dog, because my dogs are never off property, off their leash. And in regards to the barking, I asked what was happening. She stated that she stayed outside of the property near the fence road area, and she believes that the neighbors were in the backyard. So again, dogs are intelligent animals. They know when they hear car doors, they know when they hear people come up to the property, and they know when it goes quiet. Another time I talked to Charlie, who was outside of my house, and stated he needed to wait there for 10 to 15 minutes based on a complaint. After waiting 10 minutes, he stated he was closing the call unfounded once again because he hadn't heard the dogs barking. And then lastly, I'd like to refer to text sent on June 8th, 2023 of this year, at which point the neighbors and I had been conversing about the dogs, to which they stated, and I quote, "I think your dogs take everyone, everything that's close to the fence as a threat. As you said, she was trained to protect and probably feels threatened by anyone too close to the fence. But I am not here to talk about how friendly or aggressive your dog is." At which point I had responded and asked them moving forward if they would like to set up designated times to enjoy our backyard areas to avoid conflict with our dogs being out at the same time, to which point they stopped answering and did not give a response. So furthermore, she is trained for protection. We did rescue her from down south, but she's one of my best trained dogs. She's not vicious. Just because she barks and sounds vicious does not make her vicious. And I also do have a video. I know you can't provide the audio, but this was just last night when once again they were out in their backyard, so I'm unsure why they're saying they're not. She's running along the fence, and as soon as I call her, she immediately stops and comes right over back to me. Because their dogs, again, were outside barking, running along the fence. So that's why I do have the camera set up. Anytime I'm not at the home, when they are outside, I can talk to them through my blink camera. She immediately stops barking. But once again, the laws state that it needs to be in excess of 10 or more minutes. And furthermore, I'd like to add the fence is my fence. It's my property. There's a reason I purchased a home with a large fenced-in yard. It's so that my dogs could enjoy them. They're very highly active dogs. It's a very highly active breed. Dogs aren't meant to stay cooped up inside all day long. And unfortunately, I do feel bad that it's caused such tension with neighbors, but there are a ton of other, there's things that are contributing to it. The dog's not just a dangerous dog, and having multiple people, especially one being from the law that has come to my house, has met this dog, and I don't know if you're allowed to call in testimony from witnesses, aka Melanie from MSPCA Law, who has also stated that this dog is a sweet girl and a good mama. So,
Okay.
that's all.
Do you mind submitting those to me so I can make copies of them?
Of
I can
course.
return it to you after. the
You can keep
hearing's
that one, it's
over.
fine.
My name's Cindy Sherman. I'm the animal control officer, and as Tyler explained, I have been to her house multiple times and also with Melanie. And I want to start with, I have the two dogs, Risky and Felony. Which particular dog are?
That's felony that's in question.
Felony is the one that's in question, okay. So both dogs' licenses are expired. Those need to be renewed. But that being said, we started getting calls last October when Charlie had gone out for excessive barking. And a few of those actually had come unfounded. And then we did go out, Melanie and I went out on October 14th. We got some anonymous calls, I don't know who from, but about the well-being check on the dogs and possible breeding, which is fine. But Melanie and I both visited the property at that time and found that the dogs were all in good condition. We did give suggestions on the housing and the shelter and, the time spent outside, things like that, but the dogs were in very good condition and friendly. But let's see. Okay, so these are not really, that's about licensing. Then in January, I started getting calls about people, we had some well-being checks that people were concerned that Felony was caught in something hanging from the tree because she was dangling, but I observed that she was in fact playing. She had a toy that she was bouncing up and down, pulling from the tree on a string. So that, again, but Tyler and I discussed, limiting her outdoor playtime so that she wasn't constantly, because she sounds like she's in distress when she's doing this. So let's see, in February, that was the same. I got some calls about the barking, unfounded. Those were about licenses. And some other complaints had come in June stating there were 6 pit bull puppies that got out and one was missing. But, and somebody mentioned one of the puppies being malnourished. Again, Melanie had gone out and did not find anything wrong with the condition of the dogs. The puppies, however, had escaped from under the fence and they were all brought back home. Let's see, Melanie and I in June went out together to check on these puppies. There were allegedly 6. I think we found 4 at the time.
Yes,
Yeah,
I have 3 on the property
There
now.
were 4, okay. So she has been in touch and contact with Melanie about any services or anything like that that's necessary. On July 3rd, Matthew called in to complain about the aggressiveness of the dogs jumping on the fence and charging at his family and crawling under the fence. When I went out to the property on July 4th, I noticed when I pulled up that the dogs were running up and down along the fence line, barking and jumping on the fence. And when I went to leave, I left a notice on the door, and then as I was about to leave, Tatiana came out and I went to her home, and while we were inside the house, I did notice the dogs were inside the house, and the dogs and Felony was still running up and down along the fence, jumping on the fence. We did, we went outside and she showed me where the dogs had been digging under the fence. The fence does look a little rickety in places, and there are, different devices along the bottom of the fence to keep the dogs from going through. And then on July 6th, I got a call from a Carol Anutio, I'm not sure how to pronounce this neighbor's last name, but she called from the other side of Tyler's property with the same complaints about the dog running along the fence and jumping. I explained town manager hearings to both parties that complained on either side, and I explained to Tyler that we had discussed town manager hearings and, gave her a few suggestions. One of the suggestions I said about training, she did state that the dog was trained to protect the property. So, obviously that can be a little difficult, when the dog is constantly protecting the property from its neighbors on either side of the fence.
Yeah. And the
But-
fence is somewhat in disrepair.
The fence is in somewhat of disrespect on their side. I cannot speak for the other side of the fence, but
Okay.
on their side, yes, it is.
And you do see evidence of dogs having tunneled under the fence?
Absolutely, yes.
Can I just add one thing?
Hold on one moment.
I have met the dog in person when I've approached the dog and not found the aggressive behavior, but I have definitely seen the protectiveness along the fence.
Okay. All done for?
Yes.
No? Okay. Yes, Tatiana.
I just want to add that my complaint, it's not about what type of dog it is. I had pictures of one of her dogs slept in my house when escaped one day and she was at home. So I have no problem with that type of dog. I kept one, he played with my dogs, it was very sweet.
Yeah.
My complaint is about with that dog and what that dog is doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. and to
It's
clar-
not personal with the breed.
Yeah, to clarify, my little brother has a pit bull, and
Yeah.
it's a sweet dog. I love the dog. I don't have an issue with pit bulls.
Yeah, understood.
but
It
yeah.
sounds more that it's the behavior.
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
and I
continuous
want to
behavior
add
of the
that to like
fence,
my
that's the
daughter is
issue.
12 years old. She sometimes go to her trampoline to play. She goes sometimes, but she will go much more if she feels safe because I've been asking her not to go. We usually go to the backyard now with a pepper spray. That's how we go to the backyard.
Yeah, and it's a lot more than 10 minutes of barking. I've been doing yard work out there for certain times where it's been hours of constant harassment.
And it's not just 10 minutes or to the disturbing of the peace of the individual calling in the complaint. So it doesn't have to be a set 10 minutes according to that reg.
I had to call out work for migraines because of the stress of, going back home and you think you're going to relax and you don't.
Tyler, do you have anything else to add?
Just that the fact that I do have the camera set up and just that one video I showed, as soon as I do talk to her, she immediately stops, and it can be recording for multiple hours on time. She doesn't bark regardless if it has to be 10 minutes or more. She's not barking for that amount of time. He stated when he's out doing yard work, once again, it is when there's either other animals or people in the backyard on the fence. They also stated that their daughter got nipped and their son got bit. I don't know about you, but if that ever happened to me and I was bit by a dog that I was so concerned was so aggressive, I would immediately report that to the police and animal control. Furthermore, the only way that anybody could be bit by one of my dogs is if they did breach the fence that's on my property where the dogs are, which again results back to the Mass Chapter 140 section about.
I just want to go back to that. We were fixing the holes of the fence and your dogs came with the face out inside the
Underneath
property.
the fence on our side.
Okay. I will say that dog bites, unless the individual that's bitten seeks medical attention, that we don't get any notification of dog bites. Otherwise, if there's broken skin or a bite at any point in time, once that person seeks medical attention, it gets reported, and then that starts a 10-day quarantine period for that dog. So do we have any dog bite history on either of those dogs? No. Okay. In your estimation, is the fence something that probably needs some work, sort of shoring it up?
It's
fixing
hard
the
for me to
holes?
tell. When I purchased the home, the owners had just put in new, like along the back and the side, so there may be parts that could also be replaced. As Cindy stated, she hasn't seen my side. It's on the other side. It seems rickety. On my side, it does not.
Okay.
Just moving forward, like I said, the fence is on my property. I mean, they can always put up a fence of their own. They're kind of fenced in based on their neighbors having fences, if that makes sense. Like they have a fence due to their neighbors having the fence that they have on their property.
I don't know of many properties that have double fences with abutting property lines.
Yeah.
But,
Just a suggestion, and as I had said, moving forward, I had asked them if they wanted to set up designated times. If that's a concern of theirs, they seem to keep their dogs inside, which is their preference. Again, my dogs are active and like to be outside and playing, but that's the point where they had stopped answering when they had been responding, so.
is there anything else to add, Cindy?
I do. I just wanted to clarify one with the fence. When I stated that I could only speak for their side of the fence, not the other side. What I meant was the other neighbors.
Oh, okay.
The fence on the other side of her property. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
The other neighbor.
Okay.
So the fence along this side is rickety. It does need repair. It's the fence along the other side of the property that I am not aware of.
Okay.
But also as for the barking and, when dogs are barking at something, obviously we always say, obviously if this dog has a reason to bark, but if it continues, it has to be addressed. I mean, if they're outside doing yard work or doing whatever, you still have to address the barking so that it's not a.
Yeah, they do have an
continu-
expectation
Yeah.
of peace at their home.
Understand.
Okay.
Can I just add one more thing?
You can.
So just about her suggestion of making times for the dogs, I don't think it would be fair for me to tell my kids, or just to let my dogs out in a certain time when I bought a house and I want to be able to enjoy the yard, whatever I feel like, and not just limit myself and my kids and my pets because of my neighbor's dog. I don't think it would be fair.
And I could just go off that and say the same on mine. I bought a house, again, with a fenced-in yard to enjoy my backyard with my dogs and playing them. I don't complain. When I was working overnights at the police department, I was working a midnight to 8 schedule and trying to sleep during the day when their kids were outside screaming, yelling, being typical kids. I expected that. I understand you have neighbors. Again, when their balls are coming into my yard, though, numerous times, that's something that I could complain about. And also, furthermore, I had spoken to Melanie about the amount of times that Cindy, Charlie, and herself had come out with unfounded calls. I began to feel like I was being harassed. I was being told my dogs were not taken care of properly, underfed, and
Like, I love the dogs, and the fact that she came out both times, I listened to all of their suggestions. In the wintertime, I literally turned my dining room into a spare dog room so that they wouldn't be kept outside. I have a huge shed for them outside now in the summertime that has a ventilated fan, like everything. Every suggestion they made after call and call and call, and I'm not just talking about a couple of calls, I'm talking about this. It got to a point, it was like an every other day thing. I either had an orange notification on my door, a voicemail, someone knocking at my door to come out, and each time they were apologizing. Your dogs are taken care of, your dogs are friendly, your dogs are in good shape.
Yeah, it is a rather hefty file, I will say that much. Okay.
I do feel bad. I know that to an unseen person, her bark can seem like it's vicious or when she's jumping on the fence, but it's just, again, it's their dogs will run along the fence with her as well, and she gets excited. She does want to play. And again, you're saying the nipping and the biting. If there's a hand or something coming underneath the fence that we're sharing, the dog, who is very well trained, is going to take that as a threat. She's not going after them on her own. She doesn't go after Cindy or Melanie, or when strangers come into the house with me, with my permission, when they know that they're safe. But when they're in an open outdoor space and don't know what's coming at or to them, she's just acting how she was trained to act.
Is this an activity that happens only when you're not present?
I'm not sure. I can't speak on that, so it seems to be.
I've only seen it when she's not present. That's not to say that it doesn't happen otherwise, but that's the only times I have witnessed it.
Okay. Okay. Unless anybody else has anything to add, I think I've definitely heard like the crux of the complaint here, and we've heard from both sides, including from animal control, who has made suggestions. We'll take all of this into account. Forward, the minutes of this hearing to the town manager, who will then make his own, recommendation and possible town manager order, of which you would be notified in around 2 business weeks. If anyone has any questions after I close the hearing, please feel free to call animal control. But at this time, I will close the hearing. It's 2:01 p.m. Friday, July 28th.